Hey, how's it going? This is my second video in my Beginner's Guide to Anime Convention series. In my first video, I just basically touched on location, um, you know, finding a convention that's happening nearby you, or within a reasonable distance to drive or whatever. And, during a good time of year for you as far as schoolwork and holidays are concerned. This time I just want to talk about, who to room with, sleeping arrangements, if you're going to be staying with staying with friends in a hotel, or however, maybe you're lucky enough to have friends or family that live nearby the convention that you could stay there. Regardless of who you stay with, though, you want to make sure it's somebody that you trust and somebody that you can put up with. Especially if you're driving there with them in the same vehicle. It's got to be somebody that you can handle for at least the car ride there and back, and probably some time at night, at least at the room. If you don't think you can handle that, or if you've never been around a certain person that long, it's something to think about. You don't want to get in the car and half hour into the ride find out that this guy's nuts. So you want to know the person reasonably well. You might want to meet up with somebody that you've met at a previous convention, conference. But if you don't know them very well, it can be really awkward. You can't really, you don't know somebody that well from hanging out with them over the course of a weekend. You don't. I mean, even if you talk to them online or whatever between conventions, just kind of be cautious with that. It's not something that you should just dive into. I mean, if you've been to a few conventions with them and you're like, well, no, I know this person, that they're cool or whatever, go for it. But just use some common sense there. Close friends or family are good ideas, as long as they're into the same kind of thing. They're not going to be used to convention life. The hotel room that you stay at the convention ends up just trashed. There are pieces of all kinds of costume repair jobs everywhere. Food wrappers, things. People tend to be in and out of the room. They don't spend a whole lot of time cleaning things up. They just want to be out among the people. And if the people that you're staying with aren't expecting that, or they just don't like that kind of thing, you're not going to want to stay with them. You might even consider bringing your mom or dad with. I know it sounds weird, but I've seen it where there are basically con moms, like soccer moms, and that can be a lot of fun. They come with, they hang out in the room or whatever, and a lot of times they'll keep it all clean and stuff, and do mom and dad kind of stuff. They have fun with it too. It can be fun for them, even if they're not into anime or whatever. They get to meet a lot of people. Whoever you bring to the room, they say, hey, I got this food and these drinks and stuff. Stop by so you don't die of starvation and stuff. It's a way for them to keep an eye on younger kids, or even like 15, 16 years old. I mean, maybe you have to have a ride there anyway. Encourage your parents to engage in this the convention experience. Even if they're just sitting in the room the whole time. Bring your friends or whatever over and have some food there and stuff. It sounds weird, but it's really cool. So I encourage you to try that if you're in a position to. Make sure that you know and communicate. Keep tabs on the different costumes people are going to be wearing, because this all factors into not only the sleeping arrangements but the traveling. You have to make sure that the car that you're using is big enough to hold all these costumes and props. They can be pretty cumbersome, and some of them are really delicate, breakable. There's some stuff there that people work really hard on, and you don't want Jimmy sitting on it in the back seat. You want to make sure that you have enough room for all of your costumes, all of your people, and all of your food, drinks, clothing. You need to have room for suitcases. Even if you don't want to pack up all your food ahead of time, it works really well if you just bring your clothing and your costumes in the car. And then when you get there, find like a Walmart or whatever, and go shopping as a group. Grab some basic stuff. You're gonna want like granola bars, water bottles. Water's very important. Pop, alcohol, whatever it is that you want in the room. Wait until you get to the convention, get settled in your room, then make a trip to Walmart. If partway through the planning process you find out that the people that you're going with, or traveling with at the very least, have more stuff that they're planning to bring that needs more room to get it there safely, consider driving 2 cars. Even if one person is driving a car full of supplies or costumes or whatever, it's way better than cramming everybody into the car and destroying, months and even sometimes years worth of work. You don't want to start your vacation by finding out that your costume's been crushed. Okay. And at the same time, you don't want to get there and find out that the only civvy clothes that you got are what you're wearing. Because, you might not want to wear the costume the whole convention, and you're definitely not going to want to wear the same set of clothing all weekend. Some people do it, and please don't do that. Please bathe. That sounds like weird, but please bathe. Constench is no fun. Just no fun. Another thing to keep in mind when you're looking for people to room with or travel with or whatever, make sure that they're reliable. Make sure they're trustworthy. And if you're into raves and stuff like that, make sure you bring your rave clothes, because there's almost always a dance. Most of the time it's Friday and Saturday night. You can look at the website for whatever convention you're going to. Usually they'll have all that listed, and look through their events. See what kind of stuff they got going on that you would be interested in. Plan what you pack around that stuff. Video games, if you're big into gaming, you might want to bring a system. I wouldn't recommend bringing all of your gaming stuff, just because it's expensive and you're already going to have so much in the car. You don't want to keep track of all that stuff, especially when it comes to packing stuff up to leave. You don't want to forget something, and if somebody breaks into your room or whatever, people around you that you don't know very well, it gives them more opportunity to screw you over. You don't want that. Just common sense. You're going to want repair kits for all of your costumes. The easiest way to do this is, sometimes, and a lot of time they'll have stations at conventions where volunteers are sitting. They have all kinds of repair stuff, but it's always a good idea to bring a little bit of everything that your costume is made out of, and all the adhesives and tapes and stuff that you use to make your costume. Bring a little bit of everything. Just bring a shoebox or whatever full of stuff, as well as tools. A multi-tool is a good idea. Scissors, if nothing else, and a needle and thread, for sure. The life expectancy on a costume is 1 to 2 conventions, really, depending on how it's built. The more professionally made costumes that are the equivalent of real clothing, they'll probably last longer, but really there's so many details involved when you're making costumes for anime or whatever. It's not reasonable to expect them to not break over the course of the weekend. And just be prepared. That's all. That's all you need to worry about, is be prepared. Stop and think about everything you need to bring, everything you would bring on a normal vacation, plus everything you need to keep your costumes put together, keep them in working order and shiny and new looking. Bring a cooler. A lot of times if you're staying in a cheaper hotel room especially, they're not going to have a fridge or freezer or whatever. If you bring a cooler, you can just use their ice machine. You're not supposed to, but everybody does anyway. Fill it up. Keep your food and your drinks cold. Especially at like summer conventions. Even inside with the air running, there are so many people walking the halls and stuff that you're going to overheat. The bigger the costume, the faster you're going to overheat. The faster you're going to dehydrate, and you're going to want ice and water, and just cold water, food, real food. They'll have, a lot of times they'll have consuites that provide like rice and pop and snacks. What I recommend is, and it can get expensive with bigger groups, especially if maybe you're bringing your siblings with, but hit a buffet. A few things that you want to think about when planning who you're rooming with. Beware the drama queen, or king, as it may be. You don't want to spend the whole weekend playing damage control or listening to your roommate complain or cry or whatever. It's just no fun for anybody. And if you're staying in the same room as them, it's pretty impossible to get away. Beware the slut and the man whore. If you have a slut or a man whore staying with you, you're probably going to wake up in the morning with somebody you've never seen before staying in the room. You never know who they're going to bring home, basically. Just don't room with them. Use caution when rooming with the party animal. They can be a lot of fun, but just keep that in mind. You want to be aware of the fact that they're probably going to be up all night, or at least the majority of the night, and probably in the room the whole time. So if you want sleep, it ain't going to happen, unless you're a really good sleeper, But just keep that in mind when planning something like that. Another one to avoid is, sometimes it's not possible to predict this, but couples that are kind of volatile with their relationship, on again, off again couples, if you're staying with a couple that has been together for a long time and their relationship is really sturdy, you don't have to worry about so much. There's nothing worse than being woken up at 3 in the morning because Jenny's crying because her boyfriend looked at a cat girl too long. Okay? No. Be cautious around, your druggy friends. If your friends are high all the time, you might not be comfortable staying in a room with them, especially if the hotel room is in your name or whatever. I mean, if by some chance they get raided, then, well, there goes your weekend. And, it's avoidable. I mean, if you want to talk to them, they're probably cool about it. Just say, hey, just leave it home for the weekend. Don't want trouble, okay? Keep in mind, anybody that's traveling with you or rooming with you, you're going to want to make sure that their schedules all line up and have an understanding with each other before you leave. All of you are leaving at the same time, and all of you are coming back at the same time. Hey, thanks for watching my video. If you like what you see, subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, post them below, and I'll address them in a future episode. And, until next time, remember, kids, only you can prevent con drama.